Good morning. It's Monday, May 18th. I'm Karen Haimstra, back in the saddle again for Title Talk, coming to you directly from my office. I have 6 books to show you this morning, and at least 4 of them I'm dying to read, and I don't have time to read 4 books at once. So hard choices are ahead for me, and I hope that maybe something I show you will appeal to you. If you like classic mysteries, we have here The Haunted Lady by Mary Roberts Rinehart. This is part of the Otto Penzler Presents American Mystery Classics series. And Mary Roberts Rinehart was known as the American Agatha Christie. And this book starts with arsenic in the sugar bowl of a wealthy widow named Eliza Fairbanks, and that was her first clue that somebody wanted her dead. And after that, she had nightly plagues of bats, birds, and rats unleashed in her bedroom. Instead of calling the exterminator, she calls the police, and they send Hilda Adams to go undercover and investigate. Hilda is known as Miss Pinkerton to the folks at the Bureau, and she's a nurse but not a detective, but she's made quite a mark as an amateur detective. And so in The Haunted Lady, you can read how she solves this crime. And that sounds kind of fun to me. Then we have a book translated from the Polish. This was quite a hit in Poland. It's called Mrs. Moore Goes Missing. This is about another woman who becomes a private detective. This is set in 1893 Krakow, Poland, and it features a housewife named Zofia something or other. I'm not even going to attempt the last name. She's a professor's wife and socialite, so she's not a housewife. She's a woman of her age, and she's bored at home, and she has little to do besides plan charity events and that sort of thing, which could get really old. And so she is planning an event at a local nursing home for the residents and the nuns who work there. But one of the residents is found dead, and Zofia finds a calling solving crimes. She's kind of ridiculed by the police, and her husband is blissfully unaware. But anyway, it's full of character, period character and charm. And Mrs. Moore Goes Missing proves that everyone is capable of finding the passion in their life, however unlikely it may seem. And perhaps you can see the author's name on the screen. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that either because I couldn't do it. But it begins SZY, and I'm pretty sure we don't have many books on the shelf in the SZY section. Now then, Colleen Coble has a new book. That's usually pretty exciting. It's called One Little Lie, and right on the front cover is a glowing recommendation by Lisa Wingate, who's an extremely popular author right now. This is about Jane Hardy, who's appointed an interim sheriff in Pelican Harbor, Alabama, after her father retires. But there's no time for adjustment because her father is arrested for theft and then implicated in a recent murder. And she realizes, Jane does, that someone is trying to destroy the only family she knows. She and her father escaped from a cult 15 years ago, but her mother refused to leave with them. And she's been trying to find her ever since. And so that all wraps itself together to form the basis of One Little Lie. And I think that sounds pretty fun too. And then we have the new Alexander McCall Smith book, The Talented Mr. Varg. This is a new series he's written. I think there's maybe 2 others in the series. It's the Department of Sensitive Crimes. They take place in Sweden, I believe, and this department is renowned for taking on the most obscure and irrelevant cases, and it's always prepared to dive into an investigation no matter how complex. So the girlfriend of an infamous author who insists that her bad boy beau is being blackmailed approaches Ulf Varg, and he is, of course, the talented Mr. Varg of the title, for help, to see if he will help, and he will. And it's rather difficult to determine what skeletons hide in the hard-living Lothario's closet, though. And while Swedes are notoriously tolerant, well, there are limits, even in Sweden, and the case requires total concentration. Alexander McCall Smith's books are always really fun, and this series is a little bit different for him, but very enjoyable. And I really think most anyone would enjoy it. And then we have 2 bookstore-themed novels. Love, Death, and Rare Books by Robert Hullinga. And I must show you this author's picture. He's quite the looker here. He is a retired professor from Knox College over at Galesburg, Illinois. And this book is about a bookstore that was in urban Chicago called Charles Johnson and Sons, and 3 generations of the family owned it. But when it came time for Gabe Johnson to take the reins of the business, the world of books has changed because of the internet, and the inner city rents forced the store to close. So he decides to reinvent himself and restart his life in a small town on the shores of Lake Michigan. And he's been haunted his entire life by a former lover, so he decides to try to find her. And then another even more difficult challenge that threatens his well-being and the revival of the bookstore and the fate of his newly rekindled relationship. So, read all about it. It sounds like fun, and it has kind of a local flavor as well. And then we skip all the way across the pond over to Scotland, Edinburgh, The Stolen Letter. This is another Scottish bookshelf mystery by Paige Shelton, who herself happens to live in Texas. But her character is a USA transplant to Scotland. And she has this bookstore called, I think it's The Cracked Spine or something like that. Yes, The Cracked Spine. And the authorities are trying to close it down for building code violations, and she's determined to stop them. And she has a collision with a woman in front of her store, and they discover that they look almost identical to each other. This woman believes that she is the reincarnation of Mary, Queen of Scots. And when this Mary's husband dies in a car explosion, and bookstore owner Delaney learns that he was the very member of the city council who was trying to close the bookshop and was scrutinizing its construction, she starts to wonder if her meeting with Mary wasn't an accident. Edinburgh has become as filled with intrigue and deception as any European court, and Delaney is determined to get to the bottom of it all. People like Jen McKinley, who's a very popular mystery author right now, recommend this book, as does Ellery Adams, and the usual library review magazines and newspapers. So, Paige Shelton's The Stolen Letter. There are several other books in this Scottish bookshop mystery. So, I know that wasn't very many books, but I don't want to just overwhelm you initially. So I hope you will find something there that you might like to read. You can call us and we'll place it on hold for you, arrange a pickup time for you, or you can put a hold on any of these books in our catalog and we will arrange with a pickup time for you. Call us anytime at 668-2900. And I will see you next week. Take care.